Hello, everyone. Welcome to Conversations. We are so grateful that you're a part of our show on today, and we always want to give time to thank our great man of God, Pastor Tony Smith, for allowing us to be here today. We have a serious topic today, and it's police discrimination. It has been ripping the headlines across America for years, but recently in the news a lot more than usual. And we want to talk about how police discriminate against us for our race, our size, our gender, our sexuality, our clothing, whatever the case may be. It's a hard discussion, but we must have it. Let me ask this, ladies. Is it normal to be afraid of the police? Yes or no? Tell me what you think.
No, it is not normal to be afraid of the police. I know, for example, I'll use myself as an example. If I see a police officer behind me, I can be doing the speed limit, but I'll slow down even more because I don't want to be pulled over just because. And I do feel as though when I see a police officer, a car, or a police officer walking, whatever the case may be, instead of me feeling safe, I do feel fearful of them being there.
I don't think it's normal to be afraid. I think there should be a reverence for a certain position of authority and respect, but I think it should be mutual. But I don't think that it's normal for children, for African Americans, for people in general to be afraid. I think you should more, like Elder Chantal said, I think you should feel safe and secure and protected. You should feel if an officer's in this area, I can walk out the bank with my money in my hand, right, but that is not the case.
Yeah, well, I didn't grow up here, but my normal was growing up being afraid of the police. We had our crooked cops in our community who looked like us, and you already knew something was going down. You already knew. So growing up, I've never had a safety feeling for police.
When I grew up, I wasn't fearful of the police because back in the day when I grew up, they used to walk this street. They never rode around in cars like they do now. They walk a beat. Like they up and down your street just walking, and they'll stop and they'll talk to you and whatever, so I mean, now it's normal to be fearful of them because of the times. But back in the day it wasn't, because they were really friendly.
I don't think it's normal to be scared of them. Like you said, Minister Bree, you reverence them because of who they are and because of the authority that they have. But some of them now today went to school with us. So some of the things I know what you used to do in school. So now you have the power, that you can, do what you want, but it's not normal.
I think in the black community, this day and age, it is normal to be afraid of the police. Other emotions would be angry or like not trusting of the police, and like disrespectful towards the police for things that they've experienced. And I'm not saying that it's right or it's justified, but I think people that didn't grow up with the police walking the beat, or like teachers bringing in police officers to normalize that experience for younger children in school, that stuff, we kind of did away with that. So the experiences that some black people have in urban communities today have not been positive experiences. So they're not going to have positive thoughts and feelings towards the police for valid reasons.
I found myself in the last 5 to 7 years, because of what I've seen on the news, right, and because I'm an avid news watcher, becoming afraid of the police. So, like, when I get pulled over, and it's not often, but I was a speeder. I used to speed. But them double-digit tickets will humble you, okay? So, not as much anymore. But when I got pulled over for speeding before, I was nervous, right? So, I was like, okay, I got my anxiety kind of flared up. I had made a phone call like, hey, this is where I'm at. I'm on the corner of blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. I'm being pulled over, and I put the phone on. I had the phone, the person still on speakerphone because of what I've seen on TV, because of what I've seen happen to young black men, right? Young black women who made the wrong move while being pulled over. So here's the question to you all. What's the normal procedure when you get pulled over as an African-American woman or man by a police officer? What are you supposed to do?
Well, like you say, you were a speeder, so was I, and so am I. And I got pulled over one time, and I was really doing like 30 over the limit. And when he pulled me over, by the time he got to my car, I had my license out, I had my registration out, everything was, all he had to do, because I knew I was wrong. He said, Miss, you were doing such and such. I said, I was. I gave him everything. So this is what we have to do, because they think you're gonna, when you're reaching down, you're reaching for something, and they, you know, they shoot you and whatever. So you get it before they come to you. You already know they're gonna ask you for that. Get it. Just go in and get the, open your wallet, whatever, go in your pocket, get your license, get your registration. When he come to you, give it to him. You don't have to reach down, because they think when you reach down, you're reaching for a weapon. So,
I know you're supposed to, before we was talking on the show, there's a certain position you're supposed to have. I was in another city and I got pulled over, and I know I was wrong because I made a U-turn where I shouldn't have made a U-turn. So if I get pulled over, I'm like, all of a sudden, I already know that I'm wrong for doing it. So I'm just like, whatever, you know. But I do have my registration and my license handy. First of all, in this city, you're not supposed to pull over to your left-hand side. You're supposed to pull over to your right-hand side, which I didn't know. So he got out the car and was yelling very aggressively, saying to pull over to the other side of the street. I just did what he did, asked me to do. I was not going to yell back in the middle of the street. However, I pulled over, he walked over to me, and he was like, you did a U-turn. I was like, yeah, no, here's my information, but he let me go without a ticket. However, my thing is, I think you should be honest about what's happening. Don't ask, why did you pull me over? You already know why you got pulled over. Putting your hands on the steering wheel, putting your hands on the dashboard, I don't know anything about that. I just know to have your license and registration, and you give it to them. But I have heard that you're supposed to have your hands up, which is something I've never was taught, but I've heard, put your hands up so the police can feel safe, which is crazy to me. You know what I mean? So, you know, you want me to put my hands up, you pulling me over, you want me to put my hands up so you can feel safe. However, I feel fearful.
and most of the time when they come to you, they got their hand on that gun. Yeah.
So the whole active position doesn't line up
I
with
think
anything.
the protocol is going to vary based on who's being pulled over. I think, and not just being black, I think it's going to matter of your gender, it's going to matter of your maybe possibly criminal activity, because you don't know why a person is being pulled over. Like, in some cases, you don't know why you're being pulled over. You could drive the speed limit, you could have not ran a light, you could have not ran a stop sign, it could be your vehicle could look like another vehicle in another crime. Like, it's not always justified why you get pulled over. So I think in those cases, sometimes I've seen people just wait till the officer gets the car, and the officer asks what he asks, officer, let me get your license and registration. Sir, my license and registration is in my glove department. Do you mind if I move my hands to get my registration out the glove box? So there isn't this assumption of why I'm moving. You know why I'm moving my hands, but you know we're gonna play this game like you don't know why I'm reaching. So I think it's going to vary based on who the person is, and then in some cases you don't have time to prepare. My brother and I one day were walking, and a bunch of officers swamped their cars and grabbed my brother, threw my brother on the ground. So you can't prepare for that. You can't prepare to pull your wallet out of your jacket or your pocket if 7 police cars with multiple people in the car or unmarked cars pull up to you and grab you. There's no preparation for that. So I think that I don't know how you can prepare children or people in general for every circumstance. I think in every circumstance you should use wisdom.
Mr. Rachel?
Some things, like Minister Bree was saying, you don't know why you're getting pulled over. I was driving, got pulled over. It was late at night, didn't know why. And the officer, he was kind. There are some kind ones. He was kind and explained that I had just, purchased another car, and the new tag didn't match what he was pulling up. So he kindly explained things, but I think we as citizens, we as I don't know how to say, but we need to know our rights. We need to know what is unacceptable for them to ask us to do. Some things are out the pocket. When you're in situations, like I listened to a radio program, and someone was getting arrested and out in the street, and he yelled out his phone number. Someone, please call my family.
Wow.
Like, always try to, like you recorded, just try to get it out there. Like, have someone know what's going down with you when you're in situations with officers, because everything isn't just a polite, here's your ticket and here you go. You always want to be able to come out alive, come out going home.
Alive, yeah.
And it's sad because, like you say, all of a sudden, in your day, it wasn't like that. And there is some nice ones over. I never had an encounter with the police. Other than one time, a cop did pull me over, and he said, my bulb was out. You know what I mean? Okay, and that was it. Then there was another time when I was out there, and a cop was getting smart. I got smart back. Yeah, well, because the time was different than what it is now. And we was taught, if they hit you, you hit them back. Okay, so that's all played to my mind. You know what I mean? So he got smart, I got smart. So then he couldn't do anything, so he had a woman. So she got smart, I got smart. She pushed me, I pushed her, and then you know what that led up to, I missed it. Okay. You know what I mean? But my point is, you know what I mean, because some things that we was taught, if they hit you, hit them back. It wasn't just saying police, that was anybody. You know what I mean? So even as growing up now, so now when you see a cop, let me pull over. So when I see him coming down the street, flashing light, I just move. You know what I mean? So certain things I never had them with those, they pulled you over, license, registration, I never went through that. That's good.
But nowadays, I get nervous. I get real nervous when I haven't been pulled over in a while. I did get pulled over by a hospital a few years ago, and I got smart before the man could even get smart, because I wasn't doing anything, and I'm like, what you pulling me over for? And I was doing all this head stuff, and he like, miss, calm down. He said, some officers are Christians. That's what he said to me. I was down by a hospital. He said, some officers are Christians. He said, I don't even remember what he pulled me over for, but he was like, have a nice day. And I pulled off, but I was getting smart with him because I didn't know what I was getting pulled over for. So, but but now, when I see the light, I get scared. Even if they behind me, I be like, is they getting ready to pull me over, or who they after? I don't know whether to move
and
over.
It's sad. We have to feel like that. We don't have to, that we feel like that.
Yeah. They supposed to protect us. We're not supposed to be scared of them.
Yeah.
I'm going to say this. So unfortunately, we are living in a time we don't hear about the good officers. We don't hear about the Christian officers. We hear about officers who are very, I'm trying to find a word, like aggressive, in control of, this weapon. Yeah, like power. That's what we hear. We don't hear about, the good cops being good people. And that needs to change, because I'm sorry, somebody's wife may be watching this, or a cop may be watching this. This is the way of the world today. People are fearful of the police here in this city, and something needs to change. And I don't know where it needs to change from, because you switch positions all the time in upper management, whatever you want to call them, and nothing is happening. And you become numb to people saying, well, now we have this person in place, and they be on the news saying we're going to change the city, and nothing has changed. It's a whole lot of talk, but not a lot of movement.
And they traumatize your kids. Things happen in your kids in the car. They see their parents, or, getting pulled out or being harassed and stuff, and now they traumatized. They asking questions that you don't have answers yourself for your kids, because of what's going on, because of what you don't know.
Yeah, and I think to Elder Chantal point about, or Janelle, about the news, I think our culture or community has almost like a bad case of PTSD. Like, sometimes it's, I'm not a psychologist or anything, but I just think that the trauma that people have experienced, either personally or even as a culture or community, because those things are advertised on the news, it's almost like you take on that trauma, because it's like if you're in an abusive relationship or whatever, and your children see that, it becomes a part of their trauma, what they saw somebody else experience. So I think, no, every police officer is not bad. Everybody is not corrupt, but because it's hyper, it's like it's you. This all you see, all you see, all you see, all you see, all you see. You haven't counted those things, so your immediate response is to fear. Your immediate response is to defend. So I think that our community, our Black community specifically, has PTSD from experiences.
You're right, because when I look at the news, I'm like, that's somebody's son, but that could be my son. That's somebody's daughter, that could be my daughter. You know what I'm saying? So that's where it comes in, because as an African American woman looking at the African American son, you like, Jesus, like he made one small move and it was a taser it was a gun instead of a taser. You know what I mean? Like it's craziness. It's so amazing that I had a conversation with my kids and I said, I can't even believe I'm having this conversation. My daughter's 20 and my son is 12. And I said, I need y'all to know what happens if y'all get pulled over by the police. My daughter is a driver, right? They told me it's a TikTok, they stopped me. We know, we put our hands on top of the wheel. And I'm like, a TikTok video is showing y'all this?
So he's a former, I've seen it, it's a former, I don't know if he's a former officer or former military something, but he does trainings on it actually, where he shows how you cup your hands. Instead of have your hands like this, you cup your hands and you hold your hand out the window. So that, it's a whole thing that he does to show people. If you ever get pulled over, this is the protocol. This is a safe protocol to use. Wow. So that is true.
It's like you can't even it's not a conversation like Elder Chantal was, or you were saying, like, here's my license and registration, sir. You got to do a whole demonstration to show them that you are not a threat to them. That is crazy to me. Let me ask y'all this question. From 1982, there was a rule that was established in the African American community, and it stated, if you're Black, any contact with the police can unexpectedly become deadly. Why do you think that is? That's crazy to me.
I think it's because of the experiences. I think it has been adapted. I think that model has become the case because what we have seen. And so it has become almost a fact, even if you have not experienced those encounters, because again, it is what is almost on every news channel, on every social media platform, that you could potentially get pulled over because of your taillight and potentially die through that exchange. So because there have been factual cases where that has taken place, I think that has become the norm, which should not be the norm, but it has become the norm.
And it's not only it's not white against Black only.
No.
It's Black people, it's Black cops that do Black people. Because I can remember an incident, we had one of my family members used to stand on the corner from where we live, and it's one lady cop. She would come every time. She would come every time they on the corner, and she said this out of her mouth, I'm going to make an example out of you. And I looked at her, when they called me and said, come to the corner, I looked at her, I said, not this one. You won't make an example out of this one. She called the, whatever, and he went to jail. Come back again, he on the corner again. The same police officer came again, called the wagon and had him locked up. And I went and I called, I can't remember the name of that organization, and I told them, I gave a badge number, everything. And they sent me a letter saying they would take her off of that beat. She never came around our way anymore. She just kept locking him up. She said it. I'm going to make an example out of you. I said, not this one.
So I feel like, and this is a question, I guess, I don't know what I'm hearing, so people join this police, whatever you want to call them, with anger, aggression, and problems of their own, and that's okay? Because clearly people have problems. There's no with psychology that takes place. Like, is there like a psychological training that takes place? I mean, this is a question that I have for. Like, I really do think if you're becoming a police officer, we really need to see what's going on inside of you, because we can't see what's inside, right? You don't know where a person is until they are confronted with whatever that issue is. So I'm like, is there not doctors on the scene to help people deal with stuff, you know? Because this is crazy. I mean, for you to think that you walk around with this tool, this weapon, and you think you're God. And that's just my personal opinion of it, that they just have this power that no one can control them, and they continue to keep doing the same thing over and over again. There are no lessons being taught. The only thing people are doing is dying. That's it. And no one has come into and said, you know, with compassion, with wisdom, with trying to see where the people are, that something needs to stop. And people are still hiring. You go downtown, there's this big sign, we're hiring.
Yeah.
You know, you're like, is it that easy? It's like my job, you know, you go on the website, we're hiring, you know, so it's like you just got this big sign up saying we're hiring, which means anybody can come in and get the job. There is no testing, no screening, nothing. You can just become a cop.
How do you feel as a cop and as you done shot a child? And watch this, I mean, you done killed this child on the street, and I understand what you're saying, because mentally, it will bother me. You know what I mean? It would really, you know, bother anybody. Like you say, are they going to counseling as for some of the things that they have seen and on the streets? You know what I mean?
As a woman who has an adult child that is 32 years old, it bothers me. And I feel like if you do not have God and prayer in your life, I don't understand how you can mentally go to sleep mentally, because I worry about my son anyway, but just to be in the world that we are in today, and anything is possible, right? How can you not have prayer a part of your not nightly routine, daily, second, hourly routine, asking God to keep angels, a hedge of protection around your kids, because it is a true thing. Thank God for kids who are, 11, 12, 13, who hasn't had the ability to drive yet, but it's just anything can happen. Anything can happen, and you always have to be prayerful over your children, because it is, I'm not going to lie, I'm a woman of God. I love God and I trust God, but at the same time, you do get fearful.
Absolutely.
That's real talk.
Yes,
you
that's
know.
real talk.
I think that you can try to be the best citizen all you want. Things happen because if somebody got something against you, it don't matter what you do right, they'll find a way to harm you, right? But I think as people, our ego has to, in some cases, again, I don't want to generalize and be insensitive to certain circumstances. When my brother was grabbed, my brother kept saying, "No, I'm not leaving my sister." And I kept saying, "Shut up, get in, just do what they say." That's what I kept saying. Because in my mind, you worried about me, but I'm going to be worried about you. If you get shot, because they look at it as you resisting arrest, but you looking at it as, I want to protect my sister and I can't leave her in this alley by herself. So I kept yelling, "Just get in the, listen, no, my but he wasn't resisting arrest, he was worried about me. He don't want to leave his sister in an alley, right? But my mentality was like, listen, so I would say to people, if you get pulled over, try not to be combative. If you feel that you are being wrong, given a ticket, take it to court. Go to trafficking court and dispute it with a judge and a lawyer. Take the ticket and go home to your family. If your tail light is out and you feel like the U-turn or whatever was wrong, I feel like the ego of challenging and defending yourself, we don't have. And is it right that we no longer have that ability? I don't think it is. So I'm not saying it but if your manhood or your womanhood feels threatened, then let it feel threatened, so that your life is not lost or taken. So that's what I would say. If you smoking on the corner, you got open container, and they say get off the corner, get off the corner. If they walk in the street and you on your porch and they say go on the porch, go in the house. I just personally feel like your life matters more than your ego being insulted for that moment. And so I don't know, like, that's what I would say. I don't think that is right, that is where we are in life. And I'm not saying that's going to fix every circumstance, but I feel like at some point we have to be responsible for our own lives because others don't care about our lives. And so if me feeling like a chump, and I'm a woman, who you talking to? No, talk to me any kind of way. Give me the ticket. Thank you. Good night. I feel like that will prevent some things, and others may not agree with that, but if it make you come home at night,
Yeah.
Come on.
Shut up.
Yeah, that's a good point.
and then again, please know, like, I know we are streaming in social media. I'm not saying that is right. I'm saying that that's where we are. And because we know that's where we are, we kind of look foolish, challenging when we know how this ends.
Yeah.
I'm not going to give you my life
That's right.
by combating with you.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
I think
you
that,
mentioned,
like- oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry, you mentioned PTSD a while ago for post-traumatic stress disorder, and it's PTSD for present traumatic stress disorder. We're living it over and over and over daily. It's not like it's in the past and we're reliving a past event. This is happening daily. It's happening by the hour. It's happening over and over, and it's like this is our present reality, like you just said, and something's got to give.
Toya.
No, I was just agreeing with Bree that it's just not worth your life. Like I tend to try to like win more bees with honey. So it's like if a police is coming, it's just like good afternoon. So like I'm presenting what I want back to me. So I seem less of a threat. And that's what I'm telling my nephew. Like my nephew is 17, he's about to start driving, and it's like he only wears sweatpants and pajamas and like hoodies, but it's like, yo, you are a black man in Baltimore. Like you can't drive with a hoodie on your head. Like you can't have the music blasting. Like things that other people may get away with, like that's not you. Like it's sad that that's your reality, but like you have to be aware of who you are and where you are and come home and be safe. So it's certain things that we just have to like, yeah, you might be right, but right isn't always right. You know what I mean? Like it's not wise to be right in this situation. What's wise is you coming home and being safe.
Yeah, that's the truth. Yes, because at the end of the day, you got to realize who has the power in that moment, right? We talked about a lot on the show today, and it's, the sad part about this is these are things that we're saying we got to do to make it better for us, but what do the police have to do? And Chantal touched on that as far as mental health, training and what are the standards before you become a cop on the street? Do we got to go into your family background, and all of these things, like you said, your mental, because like you said, Matrix, they may kill a child or kill someone one day, but that stuff sticks and it triggers, and you don't know as a woman or a man the type of brain that you are faced with, the person who is mentally ill or not with a gun.
Wonder, do they do a background check or anything? Because they get
They
hired
have
so
to.
quick.
Like you said,
And it's
yeah.
just like somebody got hired, I think, down there in the big house down there. And they found out that he had a background. And they had to let him go.
Some things some things, get crossed.
It shouldn't.
They sweep under the door and things like that. But I think basically that, it's upper leadership. You know what I mean? We just got to change this upper leadership. You know what I mean? Because, just to, for people just to have jobs, because I know they definitely have to do a background check.
Yeah, they should. They do a background check for us to get a job.
I think that they do, and just I'm being mindful of time. I think that they do background checks, but I think it's more of a systemic issue. Like if back in the day this was slave patrol, and then when we're emancipated, it becomes all of these different factors. It's the system is kind of the history of it. You can't undo it. You know what I mean? I don't know how to rebuild that trust with the black community, but I think that if you're coming from a place where it was ingrained in you that this is the way of life for a Caucasian, brother or sister or whatever, how do you change that? You know what I mean? Or people that are former, like in the military or something like that, like they're trained a certain way, so that's going to translate in the street. So I think it's deeper than just doing a background check. It's really about the heart and the character of the people that they hire.
Well, we could go on, but we are out of time. But we will say this: the blood covers, and we thank God for the blood of Jesus. If it had not been for the Lord, so we speak the blood of Jesus over our children, over every man, every woman that is listening on today. That God will protect you and keep you in your travels. Amen. We pray the show has blessed you, and we'll see you next time for more conversations.